Hi, I'm Robin Wilson from the Gin Blossoms, and you can find us in The Hang. The downside of success, well, if you're not built for it, just being recognized in the shopping mall could be a problem, but it doesn't really bother me. I think it's an easy trade for the amount of freedom I have in my life and my lifestyle. I like where I'm at, and I don't mind being involved in the big, nasty music industry, because once you sell a few records, they actually, you get what you want from them. Power pop to me means groups like the Replacements and the Goo Goo Dolls. These are power pop bands, and I don't mind being labeled as one of those. But we've always maintained that labels are unimportant. We've always thought of ourselves as just a rock and roll band, a pop band, and we don't care what kind of radio format we get played on. Although I will say, in 1996, it's important for our band to be played on alternative radio. Our bass player, Bill, came up with the album title, Congratulations, I'm Sorry, and we like it because it's funny and it's kind of smart alecky, which is typical of us, and it sounds like a Replacements album title, like Pleased to Meet Me. And it does symbolize the fact that we've had a lot happen to us in the last few years, and we've experienced a whole spectrum of emotions and events, and that's kind of what the title symbolizes. If we could have only put one song on the record, it would be Follow You Down. I think that's the perfect song for us in 1996. I think the best and most crafty song on the record is As Long As It Matters, and I think that might turn out to be one of our biggest hits. But personally, to me, not only Numb is the lyrical intent of that song is personal to me, and probably I think some of the better lyrics I've ever written, so I'm quite fond of that. There's a really great little music scene in Tempe, Arizona. It's not huge, it's not Seattle or Austin, Texas. It's small enough that if you're in a good band, you can make a living playing original music, and you can get gigs. There are a lot of gigs to be had. And it's a unique scene in that it doesn't sound like anybody else's music scene, and it's a pop music-oriented music scene, and I like that. I think that's really cool. And what's really great is that it didn't exist, 9 years ago. It's something that we built with these other groups, Dead Hot Workshop, and some groups that don't even exist anymore, like the Feedbags and Sticky Thing and Housequake. These groups were around, and we built a scene out of nothing together. We're always compared to whoever else is playing guitars on the charts at the day. 3 years ago, we were compared to Soul Asylum, and then in '94, it was the Counting Crows, and then all last year, people were talking about us and Hootie and the Blowfish. So, to me, again, these labels don't mean anything. I personally like to think that we're in the same sort of vein as a group like Soul Asylum or the Goo Goo Dolls, as we were talking about earlier, power pop, I think that's what we do. Phil, his one word would be late. Bill, his one word would be pissed. Jesse's one word would be aloof. Scott's one word, I know he's sitting right over there, but honest to God, it would have to be cool. And if I had to describe myself with one word, it would have to be dweeb.
We had so much material. It was amazing. We went through about 25 songs before we got to Memphis. So, I felt comfortable about that. It was good. And then while we were recording the record, Till I Hear It From You was climbing up the charts, so it gives you a good feeling to know that that's happening while you're making your new record. I think it's a lot more work than I thought it would be. It's a lot of work. It's not easy. It takes a lot of time traveling and being away from home, and it's part of the gig, but it's not easy at all in any respect. I mean, all music, if it's played on the radio or MTV or whatever, is popular music, but I mean, I seem to think of ourselves more as just a straight-ahead rock band. Well, I really like I Can't Figure You Out and as long as it matters. You know, speaking of power pop, I mean, our other songs are more like our typical thing that we would do, rock songs, but these songs were a little bit more groove-oriented, and it was really challenging for me as a guitar player to even be able to play it when the songs were first brought into the, you know, rehearsal place. You know, it was tough, but we accomplished what we were trying to do, so it's really exciting for me as a player to play those two songs. Well, you know, when we were there before we left to tour nationally, I didn't appreciate it as much. It didn't seem as big a deal, you know, but once you get on the road and you go to other cities and you realize that, you know, they have no local music scene at all, I was really amazed at that fact, and also it made me appreciate being from a music town where people actually paid to see you play and you could make a living as a musician, playing original material. Well, you hear birds a lot, and maybe that's so. I think maybe we do actually sound a bit like the Birds, but it's definitely the Birds 20 years later. We took what they did and added our thing, you know, like all artists and bands do. But actually, I think we sound a lot like the Plimsouls, and I don't hear that very often. I think they're a great band, and I think we sound an awful lot like them. Well, you know what, for me, this may really sound silly, but you know, whenever I think of these guys, it's all like they're I have 4 brothers already. I'm from a family of 5 boys, and so being in a band with 5 guys, they all seem like brothers, the word that comes to my mind describing everybody. It's like having 4 brothers.